Welcome to the Shipping Podcast, where I meet interesting maritime professionals sharing their passion for the shipping industry and their everyday job. I am your host. My name is Lena Gothberg. Hello, Shipping Podcast lovers. Happy New Year. I thought I'd pop in here and give you a little bonus episode with some reflections on 2019 and all the fantastic people I met and had the chance to record for you. 26 episodes was released during 2019. 26 excellent podcast guests who decided to share their knowledge and views on the maritime industry with us. During 2019, when IMO decided on the theme Empowering Women in the Maritime Community, I had 2/3 female guests on my show. I didn't plan it to be like that, and was actually quite surprised when I summed it up last week. But it only goes to show that there are women in the maritime industry, and given a chance to speak about their jobs, they are as passionate about that as their male colleagues. I also did a deep dive into the statistics behind the Shipping Podcast. I'm happy to announce that the most downloaded episode during 2019 was number 114 with Captain Kate McHugh, and the second most downloaded was the one with Pia Milling at Masterly, the one when we discussed autonomous shipping, and we had so much fun. Actually, the top 8 most popular episodes during 2019 are with female guests. And then I measure 45 days after the episode is released, so I can see which episodes you listen to and how the episodes are developing. I can see a pattern here. When the guests themselves are sharing their episodes in social media, then the number of downloads skyrockets. Captain Kate has almost 100,000 followers on Instagram, and I was very happy when she decided to share her participation on the Shipping Podcast in her channel. On that note, I would like to say that anyone with a social media account is welcome to share my episodes in their own channels, because that is the way to trigger the algorithms to work on my behalf, to spread the word about the Shipping Podcast. Whilst in the stats department, I also took a screenshot of the total number of downloads after 4.5 years, the time that I have been releasing the Shipping Podcast. And to my surprise, this podcast has been downloaded almost 240,000 times in more than 165 countries around the world. That is mind-blowing. Thank you for listening to this. Thank you for sharing my vision for how we can spread the word about the maritime industry. Each month, it's about 6,000 downloads, and that is another number I have a hard time to wrap around my head. When I speak to potential guests to the podcast, I try to convince them that it's time well spent. If they sit down with me for an hour or so, their word will be spread around the world and listened to by many people. The episode most people have downloaded and listened to is, of course, the first one with Captain Nils Pedersen. I think that most listeners of podcasts do what I do. When I find a new show that catches my eye, or should I say, catches my ear, then I want to listen to all the episodes, and I start downloading from the start. The first episode with Captain Nils has been downloaded 3,222 times. Wasn't that an hour of time well spent? Unfortunately, the tool used to track downloads for podcasts is not as good as Google Analytics, so it's impossible to know more about the listeners than in what country they are downloading the podcast episode. I wish I could find out more about you, since that would help me a lot when planning for the future. However, what I've learned is that in July and in December, then you are doing other things than listening to podcasts. I have a lot of stories from behind the scenes from each and every of the 26 interviews released during 2019. I understand that you're interested in hearing more about that as well. And I've been thinking for such a long time that maybe I should start a newsletter. It will take me a lot of time, but if that is what you want, maybe I should do that. Is that where I should share what happens behind the scenes? Would you be interested in a newsletter from me? I don't know. What I do know is that there is a hardcore fan base out there who listens to each episode, who can't wait for the Shipping Podcast Friday to happen. Maybe you can help me with this. Please drop me a line at hello@shippingpodcast.com and let me know if you want to know more about behind the scenes and in what format that should be. I promise you I read every email. The Shipping Podcast has become so much more than I expected when I started it. I started it in protest to all the people who kept repeating, someone ought to do something about to raise the profile of the shipping industry. Yeah, I did, and look where that has taken me. I get invited to the most incredible places and events to talk about my podcast and why I'm doing this. I know. The rest of the world has also been smitten by the podcasting sphere. More people in general listen to podcasts. Yes, but does that explain the 20% increase of downloads for the Shipping Podcast during last year? I don't know. I think our industry is coming out of the closet and is making more fuss, because I know I certainly do that. 2020 is here, and there are so many exciting things going on. I can promise you more interesting voices from the maritime industry during this year. But don't do what I did in the beginning of being a podcast listener. I only listened to the episodes with people I knew of. That's how you miss out on the gems. Have a look at the Facebook page of the Shipping Podcast. I just uploaded all the photos of all the guests who appeared in the Shipping Podcast during 2019. I hope you enjoyed it. So, until the next time, from me to you, over and out.